Hi guys, how is everyone? Welcome to my channel. It's Katie Joy. I was going to do this as an upload. I was gonna make it all super pretty for you, and then I was like, let's rock this old school like we used to do back in the day when we did, what is it called? Live streams about the different topics that I covered. And last night, season 8 of 90 Day Fiance returned. Now, I know a lot of you guys are like, Katie, you are so inconsistent. Sometimes you talk about 90 Day Fiance, sometimes you don't. I need consistency. And I'm always like, you know what? I am so inconsistent. I am. It's bad. But I go through phases with 90 Day Fiance, but this specific season looks like it's going to be good. And I was all for it. And I was like, I want to jump on this. I want to do this. Let's do this. So we're going to talk about the premiere that happened last night. And if you are not familiar with this season, to be a doozy, it has some faces that we remember from the past. We will see faces like Mike and Natalie from before the 90 days, and Rebecca and Zied from before the 90 days. And then there's some new faces. There's Brandon and Julia, and Jovi and Yara. And last night we also were introduced to, actually last night that was all we were introduced to. There's going to be some other characters, but we haven't met them yet in the full season. So that is all going to be coming out now. But last night's episode was pretty amazing for the first episode. You know what I mean? Like, it was the best. It was hilarious. Brandon's mom, Betty, is going to be like the next Debbie of Colte and Larissa. And we're just going to start off from the get-go because Brandon is this little young kid. He's 27. There's Brandon and Julia. Brandon lives on a farm with his mom and dad. He's an only child of his mom and dad. Dad has been married at least a few other times. He has some half siblings that he grew up with, but he was raised by his parents. His mother, Betty, is extremely overbearing and believes that it's her job to make sure that Julia actually takes methods to prevent pregnancy. Yes, a mother that is going to take her to the OBGYN. That literally just happened. I know there's been a lot of lives. I do apologize. I was not interested in last season, but this season I was. So here's what happens. We meet Brandon. He lives on a farm with his parents. He does pest control for a living. He met Julia online and he wanted her to come visit, but that didn't work because she couldn't get a visa here. She is actually from Russia. And so he arranges a trip. They meet in Iceland and then again in France. They have spent around $10,000 in 7 months on meeting her. Julia does not work and expects that he will be the person that keeps her and maintains her and gives her her way of life. He admits that his mom can be extremely overbearing, and he's going to have Julia naturally move in with her and his parents because, that's what happens on this show. So he's going to have Julia move in. Julia is sort of this high maintenance girl from the city, hasn't had a job, is expecting Brandon to do everything. But Brandon, it has a secret, and he doesn't really have a lot of money. And not only that, she's a go-go dancer. And so Betty automatically thinks that Julia is a stripper and a prostitute because obviously that's the natural next step from go-go dancing. Oh, there's so many cliches in this couple, so much happening here, and it's just such a hot mess. I wonder if he has to pay rent. That I do not know. Someone said they honestly look like siblings. So he actually proposes to her in Iceland. She's never been here to the United States, and she got her K1 visa approved And so now they're going to get married, not because they're fully in love, but because she can't come here otherwise. You know what I mean? Like, I always feel, I don't know if that's the truth, but that's the way it's being spun. Like, well, she can't really get here unless we get married, so we might as well get married. Because that's why you get married to someone that you barely know when you live with your parents and you are in pest control, and your mom is going to make sure that you are using birth control. I mean, this dynamic, I think, is going to gear us up to be one heck of a show. So next we met Jovi and Yara. Now, we actually don't meet Yara right away, but Jovi is a Southern boy. He is actually from New Orleans. And he is kind of crazy, he says. He likes to party. He was a kid that wanted to move to New Orleans because he actually grew up in the bayou. And he then decided to move to the New Orleans, but because of the way that his family is, you know, they go hunting, they go fishing. He worked on a shrimp boat, and now he does underwater robotics, where he actually works on and repairs underwater pipes for the pipeline. And I am talking about the new 90 Day Fiance, by the way. Yes. So he works on the pipeline and he travels. And so he's been to 25 countries. And while he's gone to all these different countries, he works 4 weeks on a boat in the countries working on those pipelines. And then he gets 4 weeks off. And during those 4 weeks off, he likes to go and travel. So while traveling, he ends up finding this app where he meets Yara, who is actually from Kiev, Ukraine. She's kind of like David's girlfriend from 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days. What was her name? Except he isn't, 75 years old or 65 years old. He's in his 20s and she's in her 20s, and there we go. So she's from Kiev, Ukraine. They meet up in Budapest. And he says that when they first meet up, it's like super awkward, but then they have some wine and they do the hokey pokey and they turn themselves around, and then it's all great because they've done it and it was great. Like, he's like, we hooked up and it was really good. Like, okay, Jovi. Thank you for your super chat, Amy. And then he says that, they go on all these various trips together. So, she does makeup in Kiev, Ukraine. And so she doesn't really have like a full-time job per se. And she's going to be relying on him a lot. Thankfully, his job is very well paid, I guess. But he also travels a lot, like 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. So when she comes to the United States, he will be home for 2 weeks. Then he goes home and he goes on the road for 4 weeks, and then they come back and they have to get married. So all of this is going to be a hot, finagled mess. So what is their deal? So basically he travels with her to all these different trips on her. He goes to the Ukraine, Bali, Dominican Republic, Cuba. At some point in their hookups and in their relationship, she ends up getting pregnant. During the time while she was pregnant, he and her go to Cuba, and while they were underwater scuba diving, he proposes to her, and then she says yes. And then shortly after he proposes, she actually loses the baby. And so then he decides that maybe he doesn't have to marry her. He says the loss was extremely hard, but he felt like he was rushing into things, so he wasn't totally sure. He doesn't know if he's going to marry her or not. And then obviously he's this wild party boy that when we first meet him, he's like chugging a beer right as soon as he wakes up in the morning, and he goes fishing for catfish and in the bayou. So I was like, this is absolutely fantastic. And we actually meet her at the very end of this first episode. All right, so next we're going to go over to Zied and Rebecca. So Rebecca and Zied are back, and they were on 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days. And these two they have a pretty significant age gap. So these two are 49 and 27. So Rebecca is 49, he is 27. We met them on 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days when she went over there, and she met him in, he's from Tunisia and Tunisia, yes. And he is Muslim. She is, he's Arabic of the Muslim faith, and she is from the United States. She works as a restaurant manager, and he finally is going to get his K1 visa and come here, and they're going to get married. But the problem is she's done this before. She's already been married 3 times. She said that she met him after another one of her relationships fell apart, and it was after that relationship fell apart where she married another guy from overseas, brought him over, and he basically just used her for her the K1 visa, and she was like, I'm done with this. And so he's in the process during all of this trying to get his having his interview for the K1. And hold on. So she basically says that even though there's this massive age difference, they are like amazingly in love. But she does admit that when they were first together, she got very creative with with her, what do you call it? Filters, and she used positions to appear younger. When they finally met, he thought she was beautiful. But they also struggled with some cultural differences when he went there. His sister didn't like her at all. And she still is not a huge fan of Rebecca. And he's not thrilled about his interview because one of the things that they're going to probably ask him about is the fact that she had another husband that's from an Arabic country, and it didn't work out, and so they're concerned about all of this. And she's basically telling them that don't get mad during the interview. And she says that she got swept up in her last relationship, but this guy is the right guy. So 4th time is a charm. So Rebecca and Zied, and for the record, these two actually already got married. That was actually released not long ago. So these two are actually married, but we will see more of them. And then we're going to also be reintroduced to Mike and Natalie, who, by the way, I don't know why these two are even together. They clearly seem to hate each other. Either that or they're just really bad actors, or I don't know. So we're going to meet, we're going to see Natalie and Mike again. And so Natalie and Mike are from, let me get the picture posted up here. Sorry. I don't know why these pictures are all over the place. Natalie and Mike, she is from, there we go. Okay, so she's from, I believe, is she from Ukraine? Okay, so if you remember, they were on before the 90 days. He had actually gone over there. They had this really explosive fight where she basically said that she wasn't really in love with him. They were fighting about religion. Religion was like a humongous issue for them. He does not believe. She's a believer. Since coming home from spending time with her and her mom in their apartment, he's bought a bunch of property, like 1 billion acres. I can't even remember. It was like 73 acres that's been in his family forever. And then you have Natalie and Mike, she's now going to come to the United States. And in the very first, one of the very first scenes with these two, she's letting him know that she got her visa. And he's just like, oh, really? You got it? Oh. Like, it was like he was so uninterested. He was so not happy about it. He was just like, why? Why were you doing that? I don't get it. This is weird. And so she's coming. She has to come super fast. She seems excited. He doesn't seem excited. And this is going to be a complete and utter mess. Like, this whole thing is going to be a mess. So now the interesting thing throughout all of this is that Julia and Brandon, so he lives on a farm with his parents, and his mom and dad are like not going to let them stay in the same room. So they're going to make Julia sleep in a separate bedroom. Brandon is 27 years old. They think that he should not stay with her in the same bedroom. He tells them that they're not using birth control. Brandon doesn't want to use the rubber things that you put on there. And it's just, mom is like putting the big boy bed in his room. It's so weird. It's like, he is such a mama's boy, and he is so broke because he pretended like he had money when he was like whining and dining Julia. And he's literally like not going to tell Julia ahead of time that she has to stay in a bedroom by herself. So he's just going to let her get there and then let her deal with it after he gets there. Like, why do these people do this? I'll never understand why these characters do this at all. It doesn't make sense. I don't see this working out. And then Jovi, actually, the next thing is he gets a new apartment. And so, you know, he's sitting down with his friends who are literally like, I can't believe you're marrying some chick that you barely know. Like, are you sure about this? And they're talking about like what a wild man he is, how much he drinks, how much he's involved in alcohol and partying, and what like a free spirit he is, and how this is going to be a super bad idea. And at the end of the day, like, they're just like unimpressed. They're like, you're a social butterfly. You're not going to be able to go out all the time. And like, he basically says like, I'm impulsive. I drink all the time. I never have plans. This is going to work great. Okay, we start off this season with him chugging a beer in the morning at like 8 o'clock in the morning on his way to go fishing and hunting. And we have clips at the very end of this episode where he's drinking whiskey at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Yara calling him an alcoholic. So I think this is going to be a train wreck disaster. And he actually kind of reminds me of my ex-boyfriend that I decided to move in with after 10 days. That was a whole story for another day. Anyways, I am not totally sold on this couple making it, but we'll get there. And then Rebecca and Zied are going to have some serious drama this season as well, because Rebecca has no money, and she used a lot of her money to get her visa set up for him. She had to get an apartment. She's had to set up all this stuff for Zied. And so now they're talking about having her move in with her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend, Micah. Tiffany and Micah are like not, like, they're totally on board with it, but Zied is not. He does not want to live with someone who is not married. So he doesn't want Rebecca and Micah to be in the same house together, because Micah might see Rebecca like in her underwear or in her pajamas. And Rebecca is trying to explain to her daughter and Micah that he's like he's conservative. It's part of his faith. And Micah's just like, whatever. He needs to come to the United States and assimilate. This is ridiculous. This is so stupid. And that's where we're at with that. So we'll see. She's not sure if that's going to work. She might have to go find her own place. Mike goes ahead and gets a haircut. And again, while he's getting his haircut, he's like so uninterested. And he's just like, ugh, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I don't know. I'm pretty nervous. I don't know. She wants me to be vegan. Like, I don't know why Mike and her are even doing this. Like, and then Natalie's mad because his uncle Bo lives with him. Bo is apparently a family member who's fallen on hard times and is staying with Mike. And Natalie doesn't want to stay in a house with strangers, even though she made Mike stay in a house with her mom. It's all just Natalie having issues with everything. And then, yeah. And he's like, I'm not going to kick her out. He's family. You're just going to have to deal with it. Like, these two are literally a match made in hell. All right, so back to Brandon and Julia. This part is hilarious. They're literally on the way to the airport, and the mom is like on the phone, and she's just like, hi, doctor. Yes, this is my gynecologist. So, Mr. Gynecologist, my son's fiance isn't really sure. She doesn't like, she's not on anything. So could like I bring her in? And he's like in the back of the car, like just like letting his mom talk on the phone to some gynecologist for his girlfriend. It was the most awkward things ever there. It was so awkward. So he's like, he had to go through a ton of hoops in order to actually get her there. He had to spend a lot of money. And then they start talking about how Julia is actually like a crabby Jekyll and Hyde. And so they're like, I hope when Julia comes here that she's not like how she was in France. And they start talking about how she like pops off and explodes at him. And like, you know, one minute she's fine and next minute she's like off the handle. And, you know, he had to pay for literally everything to see her, like for her to get there. And when they ask him about whether or not like he really wanted to marry her, he was just like, I don't know. I mean, it was either I bring her over here with a K1 or we just be done. Oh my God. And at the very end of this, we see a clip of the two of them looking at a pregnancy test with 2 lines. And so it may not be that birth control started for Julia. And then we finally get to Jovi and Yara, and at the very end of the show, these two finally meet up. He goes and gets her flowers. He's never bought flowers for a woman. I swear this is every season. He wants to start everything off with her on a good note. He's like, I'm taking a big risk. I'm moving her in. I've got a new apartment. I don't have anything here for her. It's all crazy. It's all bad, you know. And he goes and meets her at the airport, and it's literally like she has all of her stuff. She's irritated. She's like, I smell. He's like trying to hug her, and she's like, step away so I can get off the escalator, you know, and he's just like, let's go out tonight. And she's like, no, I'm tired. You know, poor girl has been traveling for quite some time, and she's like ripping on him for getting an economic class, like a coach, the cheapest flights to get her there. And, you know, he's like, they're asking her if she like loves him, and she's like, I don't know. He's like, what do you love about him? And she's like, I love that he has a good body. Well, he used to. Not his body now. She literally doesn't like his body now. She says that she loves Jovi, but she's not like, I feel I love Jovi, but I'm not like in love with him. She said, I miss him sometimes, but I'm not going to like, and I haven't gotten rid of him yet. And yeah. And then Jovi was mad because she didn't want to go out and party. So this is going to be a hot mess. Like, legit going to be a hot mess. Like, I don't know. This is going to be a mess. She's like, I don't know. I haven't dropped him yet. Like, who says that? Oh, this is going to be a mess. So that was episode 1. It was 2 hours. You can actually check out the whole episode on TLC.com or TLC Go. We'll be covering the whole season on this channel. So make sure that you check it out. And I never really know with these people if they're acting, if this is real, if it's fake, whatever. But someone in the chat is saying that Mike's uncle might have a record. So I guess we'll have to see. All right, you guys. So that's all I have for this episode of the recap. Let me know what your thoughts are. And Beatrice says there's literally nothing wrong with flying coach. She's being unreasonable. I absolutely agree with you on that, Beatrice. So I think this is going to be a good season. I think Betty, Brandon's mom, is going to be the star. And I just, you know, I have a feeling we're going to get a lot. And next week we're going to meet some more cast members. So this was the first episode, and there's more to come soon. All right, you guys, I'll be back later with more. Bye.